What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you stopping by today. Today we're going to continue the wide receiver conversation. This time it's not going to be about Marvin Harrison Jr. or Michael Pittman Jr. This one's going to be about Parris Campbell. Okay, somebody that was a former Colt. This is a conversation that I've seen come up amongst Colts Nation quite a bit over the last couple weeks. And what I want to talk about here is Parris Campbell and the fact that we might be able to bring Parris Campbell back, and should we bring Parris Campbell back? And this is going to be the argument for whether we should or whether we shouldn't. And when you really look at it, like, this is where I'm at on the Parris Campbell thing. Year one, he played 7 games. Year two, he played 2 games. Year three, he played 6 games. We'll skip year 4 and we'll come back to year 4. But this year with the Giants, the one season he spent with the Giants, he played in 12 games. And he only started 3 of those games. So when you look at all these things, you're looking at a guy that you're probably almost guaranteed not to get him for a full slate of games, right? 2022 is the one year where he did play all the games. And of course, because that was the one year that he was able to stay healthy, like, it's the worst year the Colts have had in a long time, like, in terms of record, in terms of everything that went on. Like, even when the Colts lost a bunch of games and ended up getting Andrew Luck. In that season, the Colts almost won like 9-10 games, something like that. There was, like, I think 8 or 9 games that the Colts lost in that season where they were 1-score games. So a couple plays go a different way. Somehow, some way, the Colts without Peyton Manning end up having a winning record, right? So when you look at 2022, it was all bad for everything Colts except for Parris Campbell, who magically, while the Colts were having the worst year they've had in forever, he had the best year of his career where he was able to play in 17 games. He started 16 games. He had 63 catches for 623 yards. And the thing about that 2022 season is that if you take those stats, like I just said, 63, 623 yards, you take those stats, those are more than all other 4 years of his career combined. So the case against Parris Campbell is the fact that he's just never going to be on the field. And when he is on the field, he's just a rotational piece. He's not anything special. He's not going to do much for you. But then you look at the 2022 season when the Colts were terrible. They had one of the worst offenses in the league, completely inept on the offensive side of things. And he was able to stay healthy. And he had a fairly productive season as one of those rotational pieces. So there's an argument to be made, like, yeah, you bring him in and have him be a depth piece. And that's completely understandable. And that, I think, is something that I'd be willing to entertain depending on the draft and depending on what else we do. Do we go get somebody in free agency and then draft a guy at some point, right? Like, there are a lot of really good wide receivers coming into the draft. So I feel like a guy like Parris Campbell might not be on the radar, but his contract with the Giants was 1 year, $4.7 million. He got that $4.7 million, again, coming off the best year of his career where he was able to stay healthy, and then, went back to being who Parris Campbell always has been in the pros. So coming out of this season with the Giants, and the fact that he's going to be 27 years old, getting up there closer to 30, the price tag for Parris Campbell should go down. So you have a receiver that could be a threat for you and that you could have on your roster. You might be able to sign Parris Campbell to, a $2.5, $3 million deal, right? That's kind of what I would expect, kind of like the Isaiah McKenzie deal. It's not really going to be much. There's not going to be much guaranteed. A lot of incentives of, you got to be able to stay on the field. You got to be able to play. You got to be able to produce, and you'll get paid. If not, then it is what it is, right? Maybe Parris Campbell is somebody that we bring back to put on the practice squad. He's familiar with guys in the locker room. He was on the Trenches show with Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed a few weeks ago. Like, Parris Campbell has familiarity in the locker room. Some of the guys might like that he comes back. So it's something that I could see the Colts entertaining. This is something that I wouldn't be completely shocked with if it ended up happening. But at the end of the day, like, do I think it's going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen. Do I think it should happen? No, I don't. Okay, because I sit here and I look at the available free agents. There are so many wide receivers around the same age or younger, some that are even a little older than Parris Campbell, that I'd rather have on the team. And not only are there free agents, right? Like, free agents that could be cheap. There are plenty of names on here that you could get at a decent price. But also, again, the draft is going to be loaded with wide receivers. If we really needed wide receivers like that, draft multiple wide receivers in this draft, and at least one of those guys is going to be somebody who can probably produce. Like, there's a lot of talent coming out of this draft. Maybe not a bunch of Justin Jefferson superstar type talent, but there are a lot of really good receivers coming out of this draft. And if that's the case, then I think we should go that direction. Get somebody who's younger, get somebody who might be able to stay healthy. We're not just going to guarantee anybody to stay healthy in the NFL, but Parris Campbell clearly has had issues staying healthy in the league, and I just don't want to mess with that anymore. You know, and I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what the infatuation with Parris Campbell is. There's so many people in Colts Nation that I've noticed over time that are just really infatuated with Parris Campbell and what he could be. Like, Parris Campbell's been in the league long enough. We know what he is. Okay, he's not going to change overnight. He's not going to become one of the best receivers in the league overnight. He's not going to become a dependable part of the roster overnight. And that's just the way it is. I'm sitting here hating. I'm also a Michigan fan, so people that know that are going to be like, "Oh, well, this is a little bit of bias." Like, it's not even that, dude. It's Parris Campbell was on the Colts. I expected Parris Campbell to be great with the Colts. Parris Campbell's just not going to be great in the NFL. He's just not. So, in my opinion, I think stay away from Parris Campbell. This is just the first of many guys that we're going to be talking about, and I'd like to know what your opinion is. Again, there are a lot of people that like Parris Campbell. I understand like him. He is a great guy. I think he's funny. I thought he was really charismatic when he was on the podcast with Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed. Like, he's a great dude, but I just don't want him on my football team, and I think that's reasonable. But again, I'd love to know what you think. You let me know down in the comments section. And again, we will be talking about more wide receivers as time goes. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you have those notifications on so you get notified when any more videos come out. And of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.